Next is 16 frightening details in the story of Spring Hill Jack. This was requested by Johnny Cash. In 1837, terrifying tales of a devil-like gentleman or a leaping man began to spring up in the villages around London. The frightening figure appeared to have an unnatural appearance and equally inexplicable abilities. Soon his antics spread to London itself, and the press coined a name for him, Spring Hill Jack. Manifestations of Spring Hill Jack spread slowly from London around the country. They continued until 1904, after which the figure mysteriously disappeared. However, Jack remained very much a part of the popular imagination, appearing in fictional stories, plays, later in films, even lending his name to an infamous murderer, all because of the terror his story generated. In other words, his name, Jack, was the source for the name of Jack the Ripper. Here are just 16 details that illustrate precisely how and why the story of Spring Hill Jack was so frightening. Number 16. Women appeared to have been the particular prey of Spring Hill Jack. Spring Hill Jack is rumored to have first appeared on the outskirts of London in October 1837. In 1928, Elizabeth Villiers told the tale of a servant girl, Mary Stevens. Mary was returning to her post in a house in Lavender Hill after a visit to her parents in Battersea. She was walking alone over Clapham Common when a strange figure leaped at her out of a dark alley. Gripping her tightly in his arms, her assailant began to kiss her face and rip her clothes. Fortunately, Mary's screams brought help, and her attacker fled. The next day, the mysterious attacker struck again, this time causing a carriage to crash and injure the coachman. Several witnesses said they saw the man escape by leaping over a 9-foot wall, laughing maniacally as he did so. On the whole, however, Spring Hill Jack stuck to terrorizing women. In the same year, he assaulted a Blackheath barmaid named Polly Adams at a local fair. Polly reported how her attacker tore off her blouse and scratched her stomach with his claws before escaping over a fence. However, it was the next year that Jack hit the headlines when he began to attack the middle classes. "Outrage on a young lady," screamed the Times in February. The paper carried the story of an 18-year-old gentleman's daughter, Jane Alsop, who had been attacked 2 days earlier, near her home between the villages of Bow and Old Ford. Jane's attacker caught her by the neck and clothing, forced her head under his arm, and tore her dress and hair before she managed to escape and run for home, where her screams eventually raised help from the household. By March, Spring Hill Jack had moved into London itself. The Morning Post reported the story of his next victim. On March the 7th, 18-year-old Lucy Scales was walking home with her sister after visiting her brother in the Limehouse area of East London. Part of their journey took them down a passage called Green Dragon Alley. Lucy was in the lead when she noticed a figure lurking in the shadows. Before she could retrace her steps, the figure sprang and attacked her with a quantity of blue flame that left her unconscious. Meanwhile, her sister's screams alerted their brother, and the attacker fled into the night.